When the door opened, it was Mr. Paralan, bleeding heavily and looking unwell. Cody rushed to him, forgetting his own fears. Vanessa was not angry, she understood he was just a child. She was glad to see them reunited and they cried with happiness. Vanessa began to slip into unconsciousness due to her injury but hoped things would be fine. Cody heard her collapse and turned around. Oscar caught her before she fell, begging her to hold on. He questioned Cody, who confessed Vanessa had already killed the person who shot her. Vanessa, barely conscious, murmured it was Kyle. Oscar said he already knew. His son approached and apologized, realizing he almost lost her. Cody assured him everything was fine because Vanessa saved him. Paralan turned back to Vanessa and said she was the best decision he had made in years. Vanessa, barely able, said she was happy they were all together, then passed out. Oscar asked his son to tell Adam to call an ambulance, but Adam said it had already been done. The doctors would arrive in half an hour. Oscar told the chief to rest but stayed holding Vanessa. Cody crouched beside them, whispering to his father he would always be there, no matter what, even if he wasn't his right hand. Cody admitted he would love his father anyway, even if he didn't become a Dawn, because they would be together. That meant everything. Oscar couldn't hold back tears, realizing his son was right. They needed to be together, not just father and son, but all three of them with their nanny. Meanwhile, Kyle drove far away. He received a call and, though reluctant, answered. He was asked if the deed was done. He admitted failure, blaming the nanny's interference and complaining he wasn't warned she was a former special agent. He asked who they contacted first. The caller said Kyle's family had made a mistake and that Kyle would be dealt with personally. This meant Kyle was finished. Later, Vanessa was in a secret private clinic, feeling much better after surgery. She was reading a notebook when her phone rang, surprising her as it usually blocked private numbers. Still, she answered and heard a familiar voice. And now, she did not know whether to rejoin the voice. It was Barbara who called, asking where Vanessa's account of the incident was, adding that her dossier had been leaked when she was taken to the clinic. The girl assured her that the clinic was private, but the director reminded her that there was nothing private for them. Barbara also explained that any serious injury leading to hospitalization requires a report. She then added that if their agents were in danger, they had every right to intervene and Vanessa should not hide behind her personal safety. The director demanded a report from her, and the girl promised she would complete everything as soon as possible. Vanessa reported that a member of the Paralan family betrayed Oscar and set him up in front of the French mafia, hoping to take his place. When the man found out that Vanessa had hidden Cody, he sought out their hideout, and the two assassins came for her ward. She neutralized the threat but was wounded in the abdomen, though now predicted a full recovery. The director realized the man was still at large and said they should take care of him. Barbara then admitted she was not talking to Vanessa as her boss now and added that she was indeed in danger. The girl did not argue, although she assured her she would try to do everything properly. She also understood that because of this situation, the family really needed her now and believed she could help. The girl said the family was already rotten to the core because the customer claimed his wife had died, although only confirmation of her disappearance was found more than a year ago. Vanessa knew they didn't see eye to eye about their son's position in the family. She also learned that the Don had a mutual dislike with his nephew, who was supposed to strengthen his position in Chicago but only made things worse. This person knew the rules of the game well, but for some reason made obvious mistakes, and his true intentions were unclear. All this made it very difficult for her to protect little Cody. She understood there was no one else to do it. Vanessa was the only person genuinely concerned about the child's safety. Barbara understood how her ward was feeling but asked her not to forget her own life was in danger. In addition, this was not just a risk in execution, Vanessa was now in extreme danger. The principal wanted to explain what would happen if they found out about her past, but Vanessa assured her they would not find out anything because it was deeply hidden. Barbara began to explain again that traces are not only digital, and Vanessa promised she would be careful. The director said she believed her and asked that if evacuation was required, they would take action even without her consent. She also reminded Vanessa not to forget the rule regarding customer relations. Barbara's voice softened when she started talking about him, and Vanessa was confused, not knowing how to justify herself. Still, she explained she kept her distance, and this man was just sympathetic to her, nothing more. Then the director asked her to take care of herself and her heart, and not to forget her ribs were broken. After the conversation ended, the girl breathed a sigh of relief and was glad Barbara was still on her side. At that moment, Cody entered her room and said he had good news for her. Vanessa decided he was going to get her out of here, but the boy said she needed to get better and he was watching the nurses do their job. Cody revealed he had drawn something for his nanny so she would have something to look at besides those stock pictures. The boy was unsure there were real people at all, explaining there are no such happy people as in the pictures. As he pinned his drawing on the wall, Vanessa muttered that such people really existed. Cody decided she meant herself, and she confirmed, but for some reason, the boy did not believe her. She said his drawings made her very happy, smiling widely and thanking him. Cody was a little embarrassed and admitted that was the least he could do because the nanny had done so much more for him. The boy realized she was there because of him, and now it weighed on him. He felt sad. Suddenly, Vanessa confirmed his words and explained that if he hadn't warned her, she would have been finished. She added that now she was alive and happy here, and sincerely thanked her ward. For a moment, the boy was confused, not knowing what to say. His feelings were mixed, and he felt he was about to cry. Then he ran out of her room, asking why she just couldn't accept an apology. In the corridor, he almost collided with his father, who came on crutches, but the boy did not stop and ran on. Mr. Paralan went into Vanessa's room and asked how she was doing. She admitted that Cody was just worried, but Oscar explained he did not mean his son, but that call. Realizing the headmistress had called her, he asked the girl not to worry because until they were discharged, they tracked every call within 3 blocks. Vanessa realized Oscar hadn't heard everything since he was asking like that and admitted that Barbara was interested in her injury. Mr. Paralan wondered how she had known, but the nurse could not answer the question. Then the girl added that she had assured her boss the situation was under control, so there was no need to worry so much. Suddenly Oscar leaned over to her and asked if she often lied like that, which made her a little confused. Then she realized these 2 imps were just trying to expose her and said she was telling the truth. At this point, Mr. Paralan clarified that nothing was under control and she was mistaken if she said so. He explained that as soon as a person starts thinking like this, it means he has already lost. Vanessa was confused again because this was not what she expected to hear from him. Then she bent down quietly and inquired about their situation now. After that, Mr. Paralan said a little happily that they were 1 step ahead after all. Then he got up and headed for the exit. Vanessa found herself wanting to talk to him again before he left. Oscar turned around and added that now they would act creatively. The girl realized he meant being creative, and it sounded effective enough. Now both of them felt as if they could do whatever they wanted. When Vanessa was alone, she decided to look at her notebook again, realizing it was time to act by her rules. After a while, Oscar returned to the hotel and Nick explained that there was no structural damage to the foundation. The police interrogated the manager, who assured them he did not see what happened. There were also no recordings from CCTV cameras since the explosion shorted the wires and everything was erased. The policeman understood he would not get information this way and felt annoyed. Then he suddenly noticed another person who had come and thought he might know something. The policeman immediately went to Mr. Paralan and asked him to take some time to answer some questions. To begin with, he decided this man was really Oscar Paralan, and he did not hesitate to confirm this. The policeman, recalling that he was a hotel guest, suggested the attack was aimed at him, but he did not know this. The man in uniform took his answer as that he knew nothing about the tragedy. Oscar added he did not know whether the mafia shootout could be called a tragedy, which led the policeman to some confusion. Mr. Paralan said he was out of town at the time, and the cop believed him but admitted he would check the information. The mafioso, already heading for the exit, calmly turned around and assured him he was quite capable of doing so. Then he headed for the exit again, and the policeman lowered his head, realizing he had not obtained any information. The manager approached and the cop explained it was not worth covering for Oscar, assuring him the police would protect him. The manager thanked him but explained his business was idle, so he had nothing more to say. Soon Vanessa and Cody returned, who assumed they had done such a thing, and the nanny confirmed it was partial. The girl understood it was important that the boy saw this and he was surprised they were allowed to stay. Vanessa explained the hotel had insurance for such cases, so they could safely make repairs. She noticed the manager and added that some of them had already been generously reimbursed for the penalty. The boy tried to add something, but the nurse asked him not to stay there and to return to the room. On the way, she suggested that if Cody wished, they could help the workers with cleaning. She explained that when the police finished, they could volunteer as assistants, and the boy agreed. As Cody continued to look around, Vanessa was glad the child was growing up and understood everything. She was happy it was happening at a moment when it was really needed, hoping it would help in the future. When she returned to the room, she decided to take a shower, realizing a difficult week awaited them. The girl could not forget the moment when Cody warned her, which made her very happy. After all, if she hadn't turned around at that moment, everything could have ended tragically, and now she would not be standing here. Vanessa stood in front of the mirror, remembering all the important moments she had experienced with this family. She then headed to her bedroom to continue cleaning herself and heard Oscar call out to her. Turning around, she saw he was quite quickly next to her and handed her bandages, asking her to take advantage of them. Mr. Paralan added the doctor had asked for the bandage to be changed every day, and the girl thanked him, saying she would not forget to do so. Oscar admitted he was going to call Anna to help her, but the nanny assured him there was no need. The boss explained he wanted to, and then Vanessa agreed. She realized she could not determine the level of their relationship. At the same moment, she remembered the night she and Cody had been in a shelter and injured. She knew Oscar could have just put her on the bed or left Adam on guard, but he held her until the doctor arrived. The girl could not understand why he did this and decided it was something like a manifestation of gratitude. Mr. Paralan noticed Vanessa was very thoughtful and worried if she was okay. He was concerned something was wrong with her after everything that had happened, and she noticed he now looked at her very differently. She was also aware she might have such thoughts because she had never understood what he was thinking. Now, after so much had happened, she wasn't even sure if she still wanted to know. She assured Mr. Paralan she was fine and he did not need to worry so much about her. Vanessa then headed to her room, convincing herself this shouldn't be important. She had her own plan and remembered the headmistress's admonition that she had no right to be distracted. After a while, when she had cleaned herself and was about to bandage her wound, someone knocked on her door. When Vanessa opened it, she saw Anna, who admitted her boss had sent her, thinking he might need help. The nanny did not argue, and when the visitor helped with the bandage, she admitted she was glad she kept her word. Vanessa remembered her promise to protect Cody at all costs but was not going to report to the guest. She only assumed this did not mean Anna would forget her past and leave her alone. She explained that Oscar paid her for information and she should know everything about those who were suspicious. Vanessa understood this well but now wanted a more precise answer from this bandit. Then she said the nanny was definitely not first on the list. Afterward, she headed for the exit. Before leaving, Anna explained it was now more important to find Kyle and make him pay for what he had done. Vanessa understood she also had to try to do something, especially since this man was trying to kill her and the little boy. Moreover, she had begun doing this earlier, and the process of searching for information was already yielding some results. Meanwhile, Don Johnny said on the phone he did not care about cleaning. He only wanted to know who else was involved. He knew Kyle had the courage to be an arrogant rat but not the brains to go it alone. Still, his nephew was of some use, and Johnny asked to be notified if anything came to light. He didn't want this guy to stumble near the finish line. While talking, he laid out a skull and bones from bones on a plate. The person Johnny called was Mrs. Kenneth, who assured him she understood. She now had another very important task which she promised to fulfill, then said goodbye. Soon Vanessa waited for Cody to get ready, explaining he could wear whatever he wanted as his clothes would get dirty anyway. The boy dressed in his costume anyway, assuring her that even if he got dirty, they had a laundress for it. Before leaving, they went to see Mr. Paralan, and the girl promised they would definitely be back by lunchtime. She came closer to Oscar and took out a folded sheet of paper, explaining it would still be useful to him. Vanessa also asked him to let her know if he needed anything else, then headed for the exit. Mr. Paralan realized the nurse had given him something important and immediately began to examine the sheet of paper. It was Kyle's coordinates, obtained about an hour ago. Nick admitted it looked scary and said it was a very good idea to ask Vanessa about it. Oscar was a little embarrassed, admitting he had not asked the girl to do this, but was pleasantly surprised by the result. Nick decided she had made a statement and looked like she had chosen a side. Oscar pointed out that if Kyle was now in Springfield, then he had gone to the Mafia for protection, and it made sense if he was in league with them. Nick suggested they be proactive now, but Mr. Paralan objected, saying they should not do this but only organize a meeting. Oscar knew it was high time for him and Madame Colt to talk, and now he was going to deal with it. Meanwhile, Cody and the nanny were cleaning, and the boy noticed it was an incredible mess. He saw a broken flower pot and didn't understand what kind of fool shot at such things. Vanessa wondered why he only cared about that now and reached for the next piece of garbage. However, a policeman preceded her and pretended to help a little, but she understood that was not his purpose. The cop admitted he wanted to ask her a few questions, but Vanessa thought the investigation was over. The policeman explained the place was no longer a crime scene, but the investigation was still ongoing. He asked if she worked at the hotel, and the girl explained she was a guest. He realized she was just helping, and Vanessa confirmed the sooner they cleaned up, the sooner everything would return to normal. Suddenly, the policeman said living in a hotel did not quite fit the norm, hoping to fish out information from her. Then Cody came up, wondering why his nanny was talking to him at all. She asked the boy not to be rude. The policeman realized the child was under her care and immediately stated he would not answer any questions. Cody grumbled that his nanny didn't have to answer either, imitating a menacing expression. The police officer noticed he was a suspiciously rude toddler, and Vanessa explained he was just a grumpy child. She began to pull the child with her, assuring him it was time to rest and hoping he would calm down. At that moment, Cody broke free from her arms, and she thought he would escape, but to her surprise, he just turned around and apologized to the policeman like a delinquent schoolboy. And it only lasted a second. Then Vanessa took the boy away, apologizing to the law enforcement officer once again. On the way, the policeman still managed to notice that the girl was wounded but carefully concealed it, and that the kid was ready to hit him right on the leg. He also managed to make a pencil sketch in his notebook, thinking that these two might be involved in all of this. Soon, Mr. Paralan met with Madame Colt and was a little surprised that she had come to the meeting alone. At the same time, he noticed that some man was still watching them from the bushes and realized that this was the person of his interlocutor. The French woman made a straight face and said that she came in the same way as Oscar. Then she looked in the direction of Adam, who was pretending to be a passerby eating ice cream on a bench. Still, she asked Mr. Paralan to get straight to the point and said that she was not going to give him Chicago. He knew that it was not in her power but was still surprised that she was not dismissed because the people from Springfield were not happy with her work. Madam explained that a lot depended on their meeting and then wondered why he didn't kill her, because she knew that he could have done it. She suggested that she should take pity on him in return. Oscar explained that something prevented him and reminded her that she had a son. The French woman immediately began to shout that he would not dare to threaten her, making it clear that she would not give him the opportunity to harm her. Oscar explained that because she had a child, she would not be able to just target his son. Madam pretended not to understand what he was talking about now and was convinced that his child was not in the building at the time. Then Mr. Paralan added that only Kyle could tell her about this, as well as tell her exactly where to plant the bomb. This traitor also had to report that Oscar had dinner there every evening at 6 o'clock with his son. Now Madam began to swear at the informant, assuring him that according to his words Paralan was supposed to die there with his people. At the same time, she became worried and explained that she would never use his son to get close to him. But Oscar already knew it. He then admitted that Cody was fine as Kyle didn't know that he had hidden him in a hideout beforehand. He also added that it was for this reason that Madame Colt was still alive, and she could barely swallow a lump in her throat from her worries. After that, she asked what Oscar wanted and offered jewelry and contacts with the triad. He explained that he needed Kyle and knew that he ran towards them when his plan to kill the sleeping Cody failed. The French woman admitted that the man had indeed come to her and demanded to be hidden, and they had sent him south. Then Mr. Paralan asked her to give him the coordinates and said his people would deal with the matter themselves, but Madame Colt refused him, which angered Oscar and made him think that she was going to feud again. The French woman asked them to do it themselves and they would then hand over the traitor as a sign of their gratitude. After that, they would also be able to discuss the relationship of their parties, and Mr. Paralan agreed to give them 48 hours. Then the madam was about to leave but not before she said that she was really glad that everything was all right with his son. Then she shouted at her man to get out of the bushes, adding that he looked ridiculous there. A minute later, Adam sat down next to Oscar, offering him ice cream and also asking how it went. He admitted that he thought he would find an enemy here but now realized that they had a new ally. The driver confirmed that friends are always better than enemies and Mr. Paralan agreed. Then they sat on a bench in this park for some time, eating sweets since the weather was beautiful, and they also discussed many things.